Are you tired of feeling sluggish, crashing the day, or loading up on sugary energy drinks that just don't cut it? W is here to change that. It's a clean energy drink formulated to give you focus, clarity, and long lasting energy without the jitters or crash. No sugar, no artificial dyes, just results. Whether you're grinding through a workout, editing content, or pulling an all nighter for the big game, W's got your back. And guess what? As a listener of this podcast, you get 10% off your order when you use code West Coast at checkout. That's WESTCOAST, all one word, for 10% off at www.dubby.gg. Fuel up the smart way with W.
Snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. What a catch, Gary Jennings! Touchdown, West Virginia! Is his foot down? Absolutely.
Welcome to the West Coast WVU podcast, brought to you by the 224 Podcast Network. My name is James Brooks, and I am your host. Thanks for joining me on today's episode. We are here to discuss West Virginia University football. West Virginia had their first game of the season last weekend against Robert Morris, and they got a nice win, 45-3. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do a slight little preview on the Ohio game coming up this Saturday. So let's just jump right on into it. So starting off, a few things to say about this game. First game back with Rich Rod on the sideline. It seemed like the vibes were great. Obviously, I'm out here on the West Coast. I was not in Morgantown for the game, but from what I've heard on various podcasts, on social media, things like that, it was a great environment. The blue lot, the tailgating was superb. The weather was great. And going into the game, it seemed like the vibes were just wonderful. So great way to get the football season started, as opposed to, think back to last year, we played Penn State, and we just were not ready for that game. We get blown out. It starts raining. There's a rain delay. Fans leave. Just a mess. As opposed to this last week where you had great weather, playing in an FCS school, so you're expected to win the game, and you go on and get that win. So we're going to dive into the game a little bit. It got to a little bit of a rocky start. West Virginia only led 10-3 at halftime, so I was not watching the game live. I was at a baby shower during the game, but I had the score on my phone and stuff as the game was going on, and I saw the score and I was like, should I be worried right now? I guess the team is not nearly as good as we thought it was, or there goes the people that were. I guess that's why West Virginia got picked last in the Big 12, things like that. But West Virginia turned it around pretty good in the second half, and we'll jump into it, but just some random weird plays that happened in the first half that really kept our offense, in check and whatnot. So I'm going to pull up my notes from the game, from my rewatch of the game, and we'll jump right on into it. So to do week 1 against Robert Morris. So Robert Morris got the ball first, and right off the bat on the initial kickoff, on the kickoff, West Virginia got a late hit penalty, which I thought was kind of funny. I think in one sense, someone could view that as like a sign of bad discipline, but the way I saw it was we were running around, we want to hit somebody, and I feel like that's a Rich Rod vibe, and that's a penalty that in this game isn't going to hurt you that bad. So initially forced and this is kind of just like a stream of consciousness I had as I was watching the game. Initial drive by Robert Morris, we forced a 3-and-out. Defensive line looked real fast coming off the line, and that's how it was the entire game. West Virginia and again, we're playing an FCS school, so we're going to put that caveat out there to start off with, but we're playing an FCS school, so yes, we should have looked great on all fronts of the game, and for the most part we did. But that's not to say we can't talk about it. Let's see, where were we? Yeah, so defensive line just looked real fast coming off the line. We owned the line of scrimmage the entire game on both sides of the ball, but definitely on the defensive side of the ball. So West Virginia's first possession. So it was kind of a question as to who was going to be the starting quarterback. We didn't really know that until the last second going into the game week. And Nico Marchiol got the start, and he played for the majority of the game. Actually, he played all throughout the first half, and he played well into the second half as well. So Nico Marchiol gets the start there, and just a real nice fast pace to start the game. It was a real Rich Rod type offense, no huddle, rush to the line of scrimmage, keep the defense on their toes. And we marched all the way down, and Nico had a nice keeper for a touchdown to take the lead 7-0. There was some notes on Robert Morris's next drive where we couldn't contain the quarterback on a 3rd and long. Overall, though, defense looks really good. There's a few plays where the West Virginia secondary gave up a first down on a 3rd and long. West Virginia forced a fumble on a play that was whistled dead, but I think they were saying, like, I know the announcers were saying that the whistle was a little quick whistle there. And they made a note, the announcers made a note that West Virginia has all new starters on defense this year. So just going back, and I forgot to mention, first ever meeting between the two teams, RMU had 57 new players coming into this season, whereas West Virginia has 81 players. So just pretty crazy overall. So that, going back to what I was saying, West Virginia defense, all new starters on the defense. I mean, there's some rollover, right? Ben Cutter, Reed Carrico. There's guys that were on the team last year, but they just weren't starters last year, I think is what the deal is. So all new starters. Next offensive drive. So this is where the weirdness app starts. But Justin Smith Brown, who is a receiver on the team, was doing like a jet sweep type play, I believe, and he was just like transferring the ball in his hands, and he lost track of it and fumbled it, and it like rolled way back into West Virginia territory towards our own end zone. But we did recover it. We're forced to punt though, and coming off to the sideline, like Rich Rod was pissed. You could tell like he was mad, and he didn't even know what was yet to come. So, next defensive possession for West Virginia, we got a nice sack to force a 3-and-out. Nice back-to-back plays from Ben Cutter and Reed Carrico. I had a note there. So that was the end of the first quarter, up 7-0. So going into the second quarter, made a note just saying again, love seeing the offensive pace. Number 27, Ash, who was a sophomore walk-on running back, looked really good that drive. Just hitting the holes real hard, was real fast. Liked the physicality he was playing with. Robert Morris forced a 4th down for West Virginia in the red zone, so we had to settle for a field goal, which was good, and we were up 10-0. RMU didn't really have a whole lot going on offensively. I had a note here on this next drive that they had a nice 17-yard seam route completion, which that was like one of a few things that they did on offense. They really didn't do much offensively. Cam Vaughn, so now on the next West Virginia drive, this is where the weirdness starts, and Cam Vaughn fumbles after hurdling someone. RMU recovers in the end zone for a touchback. So this was a weird play where Cam Vaughn was killing it. And I think he had a few catches before this, and he gets a catch. He like tries to hurdle somebody, loses the ball. It's a play. He was on the sideline. Like the ball could have easily just rolled out of bounds. Could have kept West Virginia ball, but it rolled like into the end zone, and it was recovered for a touchback. So just, weird stuff. And then we end up getting, I think, a 3-and-out or get the ball back. Singleton, he's number 3 on the team. I had to note that he's fast. I think he got the ball in like a jet sweep, and he looked good there. But then like on the next play, he fumbled on a jet sweep. RMU recovers. Third fumble of the half, and second lost. And this time RMU capitalizes on that fumble and gets a field goal out of it. So 10-3 with 3 minutes left in the first half. Preston Fox looked good. I thought he looked good in his returns, both punts and kickoffs. Next play from scrimmage, West Virginia loses another fumble, which was, I want to say it was a tight end, number 80. But just frustrating struggles from the offense overall, shooting ourselves in the foot. 3 fumbles in 4 possessions, all 3 of them lost, and just kind of a nightmare of a first half. Ended up going to the half up 10-3. And a lot of people said this on social media, but I echoed it and want to echo it here. Is like, I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the locker room at halftime just to see what Rich Rod had to say to the team, because overall the defense played well. Defense was playing well. Offense overall also was playing well. Like, again, going back and watching the game and actually watching what was happening, I didn't feel as out of hand as it seemed at halftime when I checked the score and saw that we were only up 10-3. So just kind of like a funny situation, I guess. But yeah, just like to be able to see what Rich Rod had to say to the team would have been real interesting, because you could tell he was not happy with the team's just offensive effort and just ball control and that kind of stuff. In some ways fluky, and a lot of people have been saying this as well, is better to get the fumbles out of the system now. Those are things that are kind of teachable, just working on ball control and making sure that you're being smart with the ball. There was one play that was noted that RMU just made a great play. They tackled, they got the helmet right on the ball, it popped it out. Like that's the kind of stuff that you can't really. I mean, you can hold on the ball as hard as you want. If the helmet hits the ball, it's going to be hard to keep it in your arms, and it's also hard for the defense to plan on doing that. A lot of that is kind of just like right place, right time type stuff. So, but overall, not the best half offensively, pretty good half defensively, 10-3 at half. So going into the third quarter, a nice first drive, a short TD run by Jaheim White to start the half, so get up 17-3 pretty quickly. Next play, or the next offensive possession for RMU, West Virginia forced a fumble and recovered, and then Jaheim White turned it around for his second touchdown of the game to go up 24-3. And that's all the notes I really had for the third quarter, just kind of starting to dominate from there. In the fourth quarter, we had a great over-the-shoulder grab from Vaughn for a TD pass from Nico to go up 31-3. And this was, I mean, you have to go back and watch it. I can barely even describe how great of a catch it was, but Nico put the ball in a perfect spot, and you could tell like Vaughn, as he's running, he looks up, he kind of sees it, realizes it's on his back shoulder, loses it for a sec, is looking like up over his shoulder, and it just drops right into his shirt pocket pretty much, and he catches it for a touchdown. So up until this point, after that play, Vaughn was at 7 receptions for 127 yards and 1 touchdown, which was, I mean, that's pretty incredible. I didn't really touch on it as much just in my notes, but Cam Vaughn is playing real well. Let's see, what else do I have? So then after that play, they put in Jalen Henderson at quarterback. So he had a nice couple QB runs. You know, I'd like to see him, at least this, I made this note here. I'd like to see him throw the ball a little bit more to be able to like evaluate him, you know, because I know what Nico can do. I know that Nico can throw the ball. I know that Nico can run pretty well for being, and by the way, like Nico is I think someone has said he's the biggest quarterback in West Virginia history, basically. Like I forget exactly what his height and weight is, but it's like 6'3", 230 or something like that, which is, someone is saying is like the biggest quarterback that's ever played or started for West Virginia, which is pretty crazy. But we know like what he can do. He can run pretty well for his size. He can throw the ball well. But Jalen Henderson, he's smooth. He can run real well. Yeah, he had some nice quarterback runs. Sincere Bowers was put into the game at running back at that point. He had some nice explosive runs, including a 26-yard touchdown, which put us up 38-3. Henderson, he did throw the ball a couple times. He had a couple misses on some seam routes there, which, you know, who knows, just a little miscommunication stuff. Like nothing to like, not something that, not enough for me to be like, oh yeah, shouldn't be the quarterback or anything like that. But also not enough to really like say anything really. But he had a nice couple runs, and he looked good out there for the most part. So after that touchdown by Bowers, Scotty Fox, the true freshman, was put in at quarterback. They made a comment during the broadcast that Rich Rod said that he thinks Scotty Fox is the best runner in the QB room, which I thought was interesting because they all run pretty well for the most part. Jalen Henderson runs real well. I mean, he's fast and smooth. But it's funny, literally right after they said that, Scotty Fox had a 59-yard quarterback keeper for a touchdown with a nice little stiff arm to go up 45-3. So just thought that was pretty funny timing there. And then after that, Khalil Wilkins was put in at quarterback. He had a QB design run for 9 yards. He wasn't really in much long enough to really do much, but he closed out the game for us, and we won 45-3. So that's like all the notes I had. Some final thoughts. Nico seems to be in the driver's seat for QB1, but the QB room does look very deep, and I liked what I saw from each one. The defense looked fantastic, especially the defensive line. Offense looked good, and offense looked good in the first half, minus the fumbles, which is kind of what I mentioned earlier. The fumbles just killed any momentum that we were creating. You know, a lot of those drives we had like one or two really good plays, and then would lose the ball, something like that. Could have scored 60 to 70 points if it wasn't for the fumbles. And then just overall loved the tempo the offense played with. They seemed prepared for the most part and executed well overall. So we got what we expected from going up against an FCS opponent, which is great. I mean, again, the fumbles and stuff, like I think in a lot of ways that's more of a fluke situation than it is like something to really be worried about. Now, if we go in against Ohio on Saturday and have 4 more fumbles or something like that, then sure, now we have a problem. But I think we can mostly pull those up to be just just mistakes, and I think it was a game that we could afford to have those types of mistakes, and we'll go ahead and fix those, and I think we'll be good. So, gonna take a quick break, and then we will talk just real briefly about the Ohio game. Alrighty, welcome back. So, just to do a quick preview, this weekend West Virginia goes up against Ohio University. They are out of Athens, Ohio. There should be a good Mountaineer showing. I mean, I've heard that. So I heard Ohio made the tickets for this game one where you had to buy season tickets to get a ticket, to get like a face value, like to get a ticket from their ticket office. You can obviously buy third party tickets and stuff, but you had to get season tickets. And I heard that like a lot of West Virginia fans bought Ohio season tickets just to get the ticket, and so we have a bunch of Mountaineer Ohio University season ticket holders or something like that. So I think that's pretty funny. But it seems like we should have a pretty good showing. On social media, it sounds like everyone's going to be wearing gold, which, if you're listening to this and you're going to the game, wear gold. I saw someone, I think Brandon Phoenix on Twitter, was like, why are we wearing gold again? We just wore gold last week. And it's like, I think, a lot of people say that you wear gold because it stands out the most. And I agree with that. I mean, Ohio's colors are green and white. If you roll in wearing navy, yeah, maybe navy looks a little too similar to their color green, their shade of green. But and it's true, gold just stands out. Gold is in our color scheme. Gold is not in their color scheme, so you'll know what team those fans are cheering for when you see them wearing gold. So, wear gold. So going into the game, it's hard. Week 2, we're still in a point where it's hard to really judge anybody. It's hard to even judge ourselves, right? We did what we should have done against Robert Morris, minus those fumbles. That's something that can easily be fixed, in my opinion. So, like, we're kind of still at square one in terms of evaluating the team. An FCS opponent doesn't really tell us much other than we did what we were supposed to do. University of Ohio in the first week played against Rutgers. So, and Rutgers is a Big Ten school, but they're like bottom tier Big Ten school. And they ended up, I think, it's funny, in my head, I thought that they had won, but I think they actually lost. Pulling up really quick. I thought they had won. Let's see. So they lost to Rutgers by 3. They lost 34-31. And Ohio is a MAC school, so they're a lower tier FBS school. MAC is FBS, right? They're a lower tier school, but Rutgers again isn't the best team. Also, like they're not. They've been on those lists with us in terms of like the longest streak of like not being ranked in the top 25. So, and I watched some of the game. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched some of the game, and honestly, like the way that West Virginia was flying off the line of scrimmage on defense, I didn't see either Rutgers or Ohio moving with that kind of tenacity and speed as we did. And again, yes, playing an FCS school, so like maybe it's just the team we were playing and we were able to like really just dominate on the line of scrimmage. But I do think that like speed is speed, and like aggressiveness is aggressiveness, and we were fast and aggressive, and I think that we can still translate that into games against other opponents as well. So that being said, I think Ohio has a quarterback who is really good. He what's his name? What is his name? Parker Navarro. So he had, in the game against Rutgers, he went 21 for 31 for 239 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 93 yards rushing on 9 carries. So he's one of those, like, he can be a dual threat type quarterback. You just got to watch out for. Do I feel too worried about it? Honestly, no. I think this is like a trap game in one sense, where we could if we come out unprepared, if we come out playing down to our competition, and don't come out well, and we play like we're playing as an FCS school again or something like that, then I think they can surprise us, and it can be a closer game. I think it said like we were only 2.5 point favorites or something like that, which is crazy. So the ESPN matchup predictor has us at a 53.6% chance to win. The 3.5 point favorites is what it looks like right now, which is not a lot for a school like Ohio. So who knows? I mean, I think a lot of it is just still Vegas not knowing what to expect from West Virginia. I think it's, again, 81 new players. You have one game against an FCS school. You can see some good play there, but nothing that's like super definitive, I guess, in a way that's like super promising, maybe, is what they're thinking. I don't know. I feel pretty good after that game. Like, I do still think, like, it's still football. You're still playing Division I football. And yes, West Virginia should smack an FCS school. That's just how it is. And that's what we did. And I think you take away those fumbles, like I said in the first segment, you take away those fumbles and we win that game. We put up 60 to 70 points. Easy. So as long as we like do what we need to do, we take care of the ball and all that stuff, I think that we'll be fine against a school like Ohio. I'm not too worried about it. I think Robert Morris didn't pass the ball a ton, I feel like there was a few plays where the secondary, and that's something that's always been a problem with West Virginia, at least in the Neil Brown era, is the secondary. So I feel like with a guy like, Parker Navarro, a good quarterback, can he splice our secondary a little bit more than Robert Morris did? That's something that we didn't really see much in that game, and that's a kind of a question mark I have, and I think something that will be a good tell. But I do think that this is a great opponent leading into the Pitt game, because it's, you start off a little easy with a FCS opponent, play Ohio, who's like, they won the MAC last season, so like they're the better of those types, a MAC team, they're the better of them. And then you go in and you play a team like Pitt, who I think is slightly more comparable to West Virginia. I've seen people that like are picking them in like the top 25, like as number 25. I don't think they got ranked this week. Pitt got 2 votes. So yeah, we'll see how West Virginia can do. I think they should be able to handle Ohio perfectly fine and then go into Pitt. So thank you all for listening, and go Mountaineers. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating and share it with your friends. And as always, go Mountaineers.